football on the SportsMax Zone. Qualifying for the CONCACAF U17 Women's Championship got underway on Friday, and there were many notable results. Let's take a look at the results. Alright, so we had Puerto Rico, a 9-0 win against US Virgin Islands, a 1-0 draw between Honduras and Nicaragua. Same result, Jamaica 1-0 draw against Panama, Cuba hitting Barbados 6-0, Canada 21-0 win against Dominica, El Salvador 12-0 against Cayman Islands, Trinidad and Tobago beating Curacao 5-0, Costa Rica beating Guatemala 2-0, Haiti overcoming Barbados with 12 goals, Honduras 5-0 against US Virgin Islands, Panama only needed 1 goal to beat Jamaica, and Puerto Rico a 2-1 win against Nicaragua. Well, as seen by those scorelines, several nations had blistering starts to their campaign, but that was not the case for Jamaica, one of the leading Caribbean nations. The young Reggae Girlz hosted Panama in a 2-legged knockout format, following the withdrawal of Grenada and Anguilla from Group E. The teams met twice in 3 days at Sabina Park in Kingston, with Friday's opener ending 1-1 before Panama clinched Sunday's decider 1-0 through a 38-minute strike from Analia Arosemena. Head coach of the Jamaican team, Hugh Bradford, says he's proud of the girls, but he wishes he had more time with them.
A little more time with them would have been better, because there's things that you couldn't get to with the amount of time that you had to put in, because even there were adjustments that I was trying to make within the game that they didn't clearly get because we weren't able to kind of work on those things. But it is what it is. You have to do the best that you can with it, and I'm proud that they went out there and none of the kids quit. They played through everything. So that's all I can ask from them, is to continue to play and continue to develop as players. We have to continue to develop these players so that they can be ready for the next time they have to go out and represent the country.
Meanwhile, Panamanian midfielder Veronica Latorraca says the win is the result of 7 months of hard work.
So hard for the last few months, and we traveled all the way here, and we have trained all day, every day, all the time, and it really is all a result from hard work and teamwork. We are a family, and really this feeling is incredible and speechless. This is so amazing, and it's all due to hard work, teamwork, and all because of this family. We've been training all through long. It's been like 7 months, and it's every day of the week, and it's very tiring, but it's all worth it for this moment, this feeling.
Well, this now raises the question: were the Reggae Girlz underprepared for the qualifying tournament? Our reporter Leger Williams, he covered the matches at the weekend and joins us in studio to discuss. Leger, you were the man on the ground, so you brought us back the scoop. What did you make, based on that question I just asked you, with relation to our Jamaica Reggae Girlz?
Well, I think that there's no way to go around it. We were underprepared. The coach himself stated, Coach Bradford stated, that he only got into the island on Tuesday. The first game was on Friday. The team themselves started training the week before, yes, but without their leader. So I think it's really hard to not say that they were underprepared, especially when you compare it to Panama, who said that they have been training for 7 months. We heard from the other Caribbean islands, Trinidad, they have been training since around April, Barbados for a couple months as well. And I think it's not very good to see that the under-17 tournament, where we can understand maybe if they're in school and they don't have time to train, it's during the summer, we can at least say from maybe in June, maybe even in July, that they would have had time to train together. And I don't think 2 weeks is acceptable. And when you think about how the games panned out, how close they were in terms of a 1-0 scoreline and a 1-0 scoreline, and then you think about the preparation that Panama put in comparison to Jamaica, I think it's just, it shows that if we had put out some effort, I'm not saying that we would have won the tie, because that's not how football is played, but just by that fact alone, I think that we could have gone into the game much more cohesive. In the second game, not many substitutions were made. You could hear the crowd getting very, very antsy in terms of. terms of that. Only one substitution made in the game. We didn't look very fit either. So mistakes were made, and I think that's just something that always carries over, not only in women's football, not only in men's football, but all throughout the age groups in Jamaican football, a lack of preparedness going into big tournaments, and it continues to bite us.
But, you know, this leaves me very, very baffled because we're just coming off a World Cup where the Jamaica Reggae Girlz, the senior team, were brilliant, you know, so much so we were talking about things about to change, we're about to move in the right direction, and I'm confused because if things are to change, it has to start from the under-17 team, maybe the under-15 team if that exists in Jamaica. So I'm confused as to why these changes haven't started.
Well, even if you think about the words that the senior women's team said during the World Cup, we saw some, and I don't want to say shady comments from some of the players, but they were even saying that what they were accomplishing wasn't due to the support of the JFF, it was more in spite of the JFF, and they were overcoming obstacles that they had to face because of the lack of support that they were getting. So I don't think that successful World Cup campaign would have led to a random overhaul of how JFF operates, especially in terms of women's football, especially in terms of youth football. And yes, we have seen some success, but I think there's a long way to go in terms of developing the football from the ground roots up. And although we do have talent, we're going to need much more than that to overcome nations who also have talent, but are also putting in the time and the effort to develop that talent.
Yeah, on a point of clarity though, Lish, you said the coach arrived in the island on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So did he have any previous association with the team and their preparation in any way, shape or form? Because it's kind of hard to digest that he had a match on Friday and just arrived on Tuesday.
Yeah, it is hard to digest, and I wish that wasn't the case, but I don't think he's had... The team itself started training on last week. They started training last week, so he may have had some meetings with some of his staff, some of his players, but even if he had landed last week as opposed to just this Tuesday and put in the 2 or 3 training sessions, I still think that that's still not enough. We knew that the tournament was coming. We were supposed to be playing 3 different teams over this week span. And yes, some teams dropped out.
Anguilla and Grenada.
Yes, those teams dropped out, but what were we preparing for?
Yeah, but does this speak though to an issue with young girls developing as footballers in the Caribbean? Because you mentioned that Barbados started training a couple of months ago and they lost 6-0 to Cuba and 12-0 to Haiti. Someone from Barbados said that the team just isn't good enough yet. The development of young girls playing football in Barbados isn't there. And one comment was that, well, Dominica got 21-0 from Canada, so there's no shame in Barbados losing 12-0 to Haiti, which is a little disappointing statement. But even from the Jamaican perspective, and Mariah just pointed to it, the success of the Reggae Girlz pretty much came from players who don't play in Jamaica and who never lived in Jamaica. So Jamaica benefited from players being developed overseas and transferring their skills to the Reggae Girlz to get to the World Cup. So is there an issue with girls football in the Caribbean and making it stronger? Because at the moment, from a CARICOM perspective, TNT won their opening game 5-0. I'm not sure if they will end up winning the group and advancing, but there is clearly a weakness in Caribbean football as far as the girls are concerned.
I mean, yeah, that development in football generally is a weakness, but especially in women's football, Sir Lance. But even if you look at it, Khadija Shah is someone who grew up in Jamaica.
Well,
she went through the high school system. So, yes, at
but
some point...
But she was special, though. I mean, that's not the general trend.
But if you look at some of the talent levels of some of the girls that we saw last night, I'm not saying that they're going to be the next Khadija Shah, but just generally because Jamaica doesn't have the infrastructure, the money, the support behind our football, that's why we see players of both men and women leaving at an early age. In terms of, yes, so the players do have to leave relatively early as opposed to staying and trying to develop here. But with that being said, I do think that we have a talented squad, so talented enough that we could go to a team that we're preparing for so long as opposed to us that weren't doing much and we could compete right till the very end. So I think that there is a problem in terms of developing talent, and I think that comes all the way from the top. I don't even think it's an investment issue per se. I think it's more so just paying attention. Because, yes, investment helps the development, but the intention has to be there for the investment to come. Just because Jamaican, the big team, the team that went to the World Cup, the senior team, just because that team was successful doesn't mean that all of a sudden the JFF are going to change their intentions towards women football. They're just going to maybe say, okay, we accomplished this as a nation, then what? Because we have seen Jamaican men's senior teams do well in tournaments and then flounder out past that. So now we have to move on from the mentality that, okay, we had this success, okay, we're going to build on it, and then nothing comes of it because there's no intention behind the JFF moving forward, developing these players, developing the facilities, developing the schools to do anything to push our football forward.
Yeah.
And it's extremely frustrating. I think that we need to do much more because at the last tournament we went to the quarterfinals last year. So I think there is obviously talent in our youth pool in terms of Jamaican football, but over and over, time and time again, we see that that talent is let down from a lack of development within the country.
Yeah, well, it's something we're going to have to keep monitoring, not just here in Jamaica, but across the Caribbean, so we can ensure that those in authority, they don't take advantage and, you know, players get the best. Leger, you'll be tracking that. We want to thank you for joining us, and we'll talk again soon. All right, break time. The SportsMax Zone. Leger is just shaking his head.